Well, welcome to another story and another video in my One Company, One Story series. This time, D-Wave Quantum Inc., QBTS. Okay, here comes the amateur legalese. I began investing in companies and their stocks in the late 70s, but I'm not a certified investment professional. My style and history of investing is described in Dream Invest Live, a book I wrote by request. Came out as the Great Recession hit. Don't underestimate luck. My personal finance blog is trimbathcreative.net. I am not an investment professional. This is not financial advice. I'll keep saying that just so you know. But I am fascinated by companies and their stories. This post in particular, I add, I am also not a certified or any sort of quantum computing expert. I think I understand the concept, and I know that I don't understand the process. So I've been following quantum computing for decades at this point. Understand the potential, but I still not figured out how in the world they get the results out of the machines. But still, let's get into it. So this is D-Wave. Unlock the power of pragmatic or practical quantum computing today. Just to show you how confusing this company can be for some folks, just because it's so technical. Sometimes it's easier to talk about the trading symbol rather than the company's official name. So that's true with D-Wave Quantum Inc. Quantum computing generates enough mind numbing questions that I don't want to have to parse their use of D Wave and how it relates to quantum. Instead, I'll refer to D Wave Quantum Inc. by its trading symbol, qubits. And even qubits deserves an explanation. Quantum computing is a revolutionary computer architecture and business approach. Ubiquitous computers are binary and digital. They operate on bits that are either yes or no, one or zero, high voltage or low voltage, and or equally arcane choices. A very black and white world. Something is either this or that, and that's true for mainframes, laptops, and smartphones. Traditional computers use bits. Quantum computers use quantum bits, qubits, and that's where their symbol comes from, QBTS. These are devices that trap and use quantum particles and concepts. Quantum computing operates on probabilities and the reality that quantum computers can consider two truths at once. Something can temporarily both be yes and no, effectively. There are very few companies building quantum computers, but QBTS is one of them. And I give a nod to the company here because on their website, one of the second items here on their navigation bar is Learn. And I've already clicked this up, so hopefully it should load faster. And they have an entire page. Forget about what I've just told you. If you've got the time and they've got the pretty graphics and whatnot, roll through this, and you can get an idea of a better idea of how this whole thing works. They haven't made it overly complicated, and they have also given enough breadth to really describe the process. I'm really impressed with that. Anyway, as I said, I'm not a certified financial planner or a professional, and I'm certainly not a quantum computer expert, but I think I understand their advantage. It's all about probabilities. Something can be black and white simultaneously. One sign of a human's intelligence is whether somebody is able to consider contradictory possibilities before making a decision. Quantum computing allows many possibilities to be considered and considered in conjunction with other probabilistic influences. This is like taking a really intelligent, well thought out person that can understand a broad range and putting it all into a machine. The time difference for computing may not be significant with small problems, but with some problems, as they become more complex, the models can be forced to consider all possibilities and their combinations. And in a traditional computer, that would do each one at a time. Model something complex like the planet's weather, and massive computers with millions, billions, or trillions of transistors are required. Quantum computers can do a resolution of those possibilities with far fewer processors, like a few thousand instead of billions, and work faster and do the work without requiring another era of mainframes. Matter of fact, I think they were kind enough to put a picture of their machine on. There we go. Let's picture their main box and the chips and things like that. It really is impressive with how much information they have available on their site. And of course, uh, I love the title. It's a dilution refrigerator close up. So make that as you will, but just think of it this way: that's an interesting gizmo they've got there, and it is simultaneously simpler and more complex than a traditional computer. Anyway, it, it is nice that they can then involve quantum effects that are influenced, that can resolve all these things. But a traditional computer is more robust. It's a chip. It doesn't require refrigeration. It doesn't require any of these other things. Whereas quantum computers can be, well, they're in their infancy for some regards, but they're not as robust. They can have influences from electrical fields and getting bumped and things like that. I won't go into those all as much because I don't understand it well enough, but I do understand that quantum effects are hard to control and to even just hold in a safe environment so that they can do what they're supposed to do. Uh, but, pluses and minuses for any machine. So D-Wave Qubits is a company that's been working in the field since 1999, which usually means someone was working on it before that. Um, and for years, it was impressive if anybody could do a quantum computer with, 4 qubits or 8 or 12, and now they're up into the thousands. That's progress. Ideally, such machines should be more efficient at modeling things like climates and stock markets. And maybe there are biotech options for analyzing drugs and treating diseases. And I recall, I think over here on their front page, they talk about some of the applications that they've got for some of these things. There we go: manufacturing, logistics, financial services, life sciences, and things like that. What do you know? Humans are messy, and life sciences require something that's not traditional. Anyway, ideally, such a machine should be much more efficient at modeling these things. And maybe whether they are successful or not, depending on your criteria, because for some folks, they can have very high criteria for whether these things are succeeding, and others are just happy they did anything. They've reached the level of sophistication at the same time that artificial intelligence is also reaching a new level. And I swear I've listened to some news items that contained both and was too much for the reporter to understand, just to be honest. And I'm not blaming them. It's artificial intelligence is complicated enough, and quantum computing is complicated enough, and the two of them together, uh, that's a lot to fit into a 2 minute, 3 minute news article. As a result, if QBTS succeeds, then it may be overlooked temporarily as investors try to understand such a complicated and esoteric model and technology. At least within the human part of the investment world, it's easy to understand why an analyst is more likely to research something like coffee or, well, anything than high tech, because at some point they have to describe why they made the decisions that they made. So is ignorance keeping QBTS's stock down? I don't know. I don't know if that's what's doing it. But here's the chart from Google. Thank you, Google Finance. And I only see data since August 2022, so it's quite possible that they're freshly new. Get out of there. There we go. And since if that was their IPO, then they're down 80% from their IPO. But for folks that are comfortable with startups, that is not uncommon. But since they've been working since 1999, that's a long time starting up to get to be a startup. Because at this point, they're still not making much money, if any. Let's see, there's something in there that's generating a little bit of revenue, but that big yellow bar is much bigger than that little blue blip. And if you hadn't figured it out, the blue blip is the income, the yellow part's the outgo. Well, the net income. So, in other words, they're spending lots of money and they're hoping to make some, but evidently not enough yet. So coincidences do happen. I mean, at this point, quantum computer can become an overnight success, an old one, uh, or it could fade as a technological curiosity, but I doubt that. Coincidences happen. Like I say, the artificial intelligence has got a timely entrance. I'm sure researchers in both fields are aware of each other. And each involves revolutionary implications and consequences. Each is basically struggling with finding sustainable and profitable business models. Together, their capabilities could be mutually amplified in ways we can't imagine. And can't imagine is one of those things that are scaring some people because artificial intelligence is scary enough to some folks just within traditional computing. And if you leverage the unknowable aspects that are inherent in quantum computing, do we all now all of a sudden have something that is even harder to understand, and also much more powerful and much more beneficial? Well, unknowns are risks. Rewards are not guaranteed. The adage about risk versus reward is heightened here. Companies like Qubits intrigue me because of the technological challenge, the unknowable potential, and the celebration of decades of work from persistent humans. But at the same time, you know, I don't know what's going to happen, but I hope they survive and they thrive. I know I'll be watching because this stuff is just. And when I see this machine, I think about the some of the early craze, and I wonder if that's going to be an analogous. Probably not. Probably be something completely different. Look forward to watching.